Hey everybody, Josh here. Now the AirPods Pro 2nd Gen have just been released and obviously offer a bunch of new tech and new features. For those of us who own the 1st Gen AirPods Pros, it can be tough to figure out what the new features are as well as whether we should upgrade or not. And for those of us buying AirPods Pros for the first time, we're actually given the choice to buy the older AirPods Pros for $60 less than the new ones. So in this video, I'll be answering all of your questions as well as comparing these two AirPods to figure out which one is best for you and whether you should upgrade or not. Let's get into it. Okay, let's quickly go over the similarities. Of course, they're both gonna have active noise canceling and come in a pill-shaped charging case. The buds themselves are identical in shape, and so the fit is gonna be exactly the same. The case also remains the same exact shape, so if you had a protective case for your 1st gens, they'll also work on your 2nd gens. However, they may block the speaker in the 2nd gen, which we'll get to in a minute. Both cases also use a lightning cable to charge as well as feature wireless charging. But here's where they start to differ. To start, let's talk about the new case. So there's some pretty major improvements with the 2nd generation AirPods Pro case. For starters, we now get speakers on the bottom of the charging case, which plays some nice sounds for when you're charging the device, as well as a much louder chime for if you lose the case and you need to find them. On the new case, we're also getting the U1 chip, which also helps you precisely locate the case if you were to ever lose them using the Find My app on your iPhone. Last but not least, you also get a lanyard loop on the side of the case. Now, all three of these things, like the speaker, the U1 chip, and the lanyard loop, ensure that you never ever lose your AirPods case again. Now, you're not gonna find any of these features on the original AirPods Pro case, but as long as you keep track of your belongings, it's really not that big of a deal. Now, if you've misplaced the buds themselves on both the 2nd gen and the 1st gen, again, as long as you're within connection distance, these buds can actually play a pretty faint chime. Now, as I mentioned before, both cases do feature wireless charging, which comes in pretty handy. But on the 2nd gen Pros, they actually feature MagSafe charging. So they actually snap into place if you have a MagSafe compatible charger or an Apple Watch charger, which is really nice. Also, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to leave a like down below and consider subscribing if you aren't already. My goal for this channel is just to help people make more informed decisions. So if this video is helping you out, subscribe. Okay, now moving on to the buds themselves. Even though they do share the exact same shape, the 2nd gen buds actually have some pretty major internal improvements, starting with the stem. So on both buds, we are still getting that force sensor that gives you access to multimedia controls. Single press to play or pause, double press to skip, and triple press to go back. You can also customize whether you want the press and hold action to toggle between transparency and active noise cancellation, or to activate Siri. On the 2nd gen buds though, we now get volume control right on the stem, which is awesome. I've been waiting for this feature for quite some time, and the way that they implemented it works pretty well. The way it works is you sort of just put your thumb behind the bud and then you use your index finger to either swipe up or down to change the volume, and it sort of gives you a little tap. This feature has just been so nice, being able to adjust the volume on the fly without taking your phone out. When you're in the gym or you're doing dishes or cooking or just in any situation that you don't really want to take your phone out, it's just been really, really nice. But then arguably the best upgrade has to be the new H2 chip, which allows for 2 times the noise cancellation on the new 2nd gen AirPods Pros. It's hard to really even quantify what double the noise cancellation really means, but in my personal experience, it was actually quite noticeable. I found the 2nd gen AirPods Pros to be especially good at canceling out lower frequencies and rumbles. Maybe it's your HVAC system or you're on a plane, it's gonna be really, really good for canceling those noises out. When I first put on the 2nd gen AirPods Pros, that was the first thing that stood out to me, and yeah, it's just a really nice upgrade coming from the original Pros. These really are that much better in my opinion. Now, while both AirPods Pros do feature transparency mode, what the 2nd gen AirPods Pros add on top of that is adaptive transparency mode. Now, what transparency mode does is it basically pipes in sound from the outside world into your ears. But what happens when the outside world is loud? For example, if you're walking through a construction site or you're passing by a leaf blower. With adaptive transparency mode, what the 2nd gen AirPods Pros will do is it'll automatically lower the volume of those loud sounds whenever you walk by them. And it actually does this at a surprisingly fast rate. Now I actually put this to the test where I had the 2nd gen AirPods Pros in my ears on transparency mode. And then I took out my handheld vacuum, turned it on and put it straight to my ear. And to my surprise, the vacuum never really changed in volume. No matter how close I had it, it stayed the exact same volume, which was honestly a really surreal experience because your ear is telling you that it should definitely be getting louder, but it's staying the same. Now, having adaptive transparency mode does raise some safety concerns. For example, if you're out in the world walking through a construction site, those places are most often the most aware that you have to be of your surroundings. So thankfully, you can toggle off adaptive transparency mode. But I'd say for everyday use around the house or the office, especially if you're running the vacuum or a blender, or you're at the office running the coffee machine, adaptive EQ just does a great job leveling out the noise so that it never really gets too loud for you. Next, let's talk about the most important aspect when it comes to any earphones or headphones: sound quality. With the 2nd gen Pros, we do get updated custom drivers, which deliver significantly better bass and just an overall clearer sound in my opinion. This new sound signature is definitely more in line with, I'd say, what the majority of consumers are looking for nowadays versus the more flat sound signature of the older AirPods Pros. And when I was testing these two out, I immediately noticed the more pronounced bass, and when I went back to the original Pros, it almost felt like part of the song was missing, like the sub bass, which is the really deep part that makes you feel the song in a good way. So in my opinion, definitely a really good upgrade in terms of sound quality coming from the original Pros. Now, while these changes to the sound quality are gonna be pretty welcome for 95% of users, I'd say there still is gonna be that 5% of people that do prefer a more balanced and flat sound signature. Maybe you're the type of person that doesn't wanna feel the music or feel like you're in a club all the time. Or maybe sometimes you're just not in the mood and you prefer for the song to feel a little more mellow. For me, even though I really like the thumpiness of the new AirPods Pros, there was one song in particular where I experienced a little bit of listening fatigue, where the bass and treble were just a little bit too much for me, and I just had to take them out and take a break. And if you're watching this, Apple, I have the solution for you. It's called an EQ. I know you guys love to have your tight reins on control, but even if it's just a really basic EQ or even just a reduced bass option, I think that some people would really appreciate it. Okay, next, let's talk about spatial audio. Now, spatial audio was introduced with the original AirPods Pros, and we do get it in the 2nd gen AirPods Pros as well. But now on the 2nd gens, we also get personalized spatial audio. And you basically set this up in these settings when you get your 2nd gen AirPods Pros, which uses the Face ID sensor to scan the shape of your ears. And what it does is actually customize the sound of the spatial audio based on the shape of your ears. Now, it's important to note that spatial audio is only natively supported on Apple Music and Netflix. Now, I do usually use Spotify, but I did sign up for a trial of Apple Music to test this feature out. And I will say that spatial audio sounds a lot better on the 2nd gen AirPods Pros. The increased bass really helps with the immersion, and I'd say the clarity was definitely better on the 2nd gen as well. For those of you who haven't tried spatial audio, I would just describe it as the sound going around your ears versus into your ears. Not that one is better than the other, I'd say that they're just a little bit different depending on what you're looking for. But again, I'd say personalized spatial audio isn't really that big of a feature, especially if you don't use spatial audio at all. Okay, last but not least, we have battery life and comfort. So on the 2nd gen Pros, we now get extra small ear tips for those with small ears. And we also get an additional 1.5 hours of listening time compared to the original AirPods Pros. We also get an additional 6 hours of battery life with the case included, which makes it really nice if you listen to these all day, maybe for work, or you just have them in all the time. And then as far as fit goes, again, like I said, these do have the exact same shape. So if the original AirPods Pros fit you, then the new AirPods Pros are gonna fit you as well. For those of you that are buying your first pair of AirPods Pros, I definitely recommend going with the newer 2nd gen model. I'd say for most people, it's definitely not worth saving $60 just to get the older product. At this point, the original AirPods Pros are about 3 years old now, so yeah, I'd say it's definitely worth it just to get the newer one. The best features of the new Pros, I'd say, are the improved active noise cancellation and the improved sound quality. Of course, there are a bunch of quality of life features like having volume control right on the stem, as well as all the ways to find your AirPods case if you do lose them. But yeah, if you're picking up your first pair of AirPods Pros, if you were to ask me, I'd definitely go for the new ones. Now, what if you already own a pair of AirPods Pros? Is it really worth paying $250 to get the newest model? Well, I'd say that's a bit of a tougher decision. I think it sort of also depends on when you got your AirPods Pros. So for me, I got these pretty much when they launched, so about 3 years ago. And for me, 3 years is a pretty long time, and it's about time that I upgrade anyway. Now, if you're sort of on the fence about whether to upgrade or not, I'd say the biggest questions to ask are, do you often find that the noise cancellation of the original Pros just aren't enough, or you find that you want more noise cancellation? And the second question I'd say is, do you feel like the sound quality of your original AirPods Pros just aren't really that great and you're looking for a little more bass and a little more thump? If you are looking for those things and you do have about $250 to spend on a new product, then I'd say definitely go for it. But if you're pretty satisfied with your original AirPods Pros, or maybe you just got them, then I'd say keep them. There's nothing wrong with that. As always, links will be down below if you want to pick up a pair of AirPods Pros. If this video helped you out, please use those links as it helps support the channel tremendously. Also, if you want to support the channel even more, make sure to subscribe down below and leave a like on your way out. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.